The newest installment in the Forza Motorsport series is here. After back-to-back releases of the Horizon series of games in Forza Horizon 4 and 5, we finally move off the streets and back to the track in this latest release from Turn 10 Studios. The game features over 500 cars and over 800 car upgrades that can be driven around 20 tracks that will be completely rebuilt. Forza felt a bit like cars were gliding over the top of the track surface. The new handling and tyre model in this game actually gives a sense of grip and realism to these cars and a much better feeling of control. This means the cars feel a lot more realistic when compared to what we have seen in previous games. The cars will feel like they have a bit of understeer to those players who have played other racing sims, but tweaks to the setups of the cars can help to balance this out. But as always, how you set up the cars will be down to personal preference, and the available settings do allow for noticeable differences in the feel of the cars, which is nice to have in these games. Overall, the handling system is a definite upgrade from previous titles and when compared to direct competitors of the game. Although the majority of the time I spent in this game was using a Logitech G29, the feedback I got through the wheel did feel good and had more of a sense of realism than compared to when playing a game like Gran Turismo 7. There is, however, still a long way to go before reaching the levels of realism that could be achieved in games such as Assetto Corsa or iRacing, although going into this game I was never really expecting that amount of realism from the handling model. The game also does a very good job of giving an enjoyable experience to controller users. My preferred playing method will always be with a wheel, but this handling system does allow for pretty decent feedback through a gamepad. It doesn't hinder performance, as you can see in other racing games where you struggle to keep control when using an analog stick over a wheel. So it's very nice to see that you can have a very good experience with this game with both a wheel and a controller, which allows people to keep costs down if you can't afford a full racing setup. The car upgrade system that we've seen in previous Forza games returns for this game, but with a bit of a new look to it. Upgrades now need to be unlocked through the car level system, where car points are earned for using cars in all game modes in the game. Players are graded by how they perform in each corner or section of a track, and how they have driven in that section will reward them with more points. This new system will split players though, as on the one hand it helps with the longevity of the game and helps players to create a bond with their cars, as they're required to put the time and effort into earning upgrades, rather than just being able to use real life money to purchase credits and acquire the fastest cars right at the start of the game. But it will also mean that for those players that like building a sizable garage of different cars, it will take a lot of time to acquire these cars and get them all fully upgraded. However, I wouldn't worry too much if I was just a casual racer though, as car points and the car levels seem to be fairly easy to acquire, as even for myself, just playing the first career race and the first online qualifier race, I'd already gotten my Honda Civic up 8 levels, although the speed at which you level up the car is dependent on your driving ability, as you gain these car levels by being graded on the section of the track. If you are a beginner to the game, it may take you a bit longer to get driver levels up and to upgrade these cars. But as you get better at the game, this will become a lot quicker, so you'll be able to get the upgraded cars that you want. The classic vehicle customization returns for this game with a variety of generic shapes and letters to add to your car, along with what I'll describe as a fairly limited choice of licensed sponsored decals. However, I'm sure some people out there that are far more talented than I am will be able to create some amazing looking liveries with these options. I do feel, however, that the car colours is a bit lacking. There's no car specific colours, and also the ones you can choose from are from a set selection without and not a full colour wheel, which I feel would have been quite easy to include into this game. The other main overhaul in this game compared to previous releases is the new multiplayer system. Online races now replicate a race weekend with mandatory practice sessions, a 3-lap qualifying sprint, followed by the race itself. Online races are also split into 2 types. Spec races, where all cars from all competitors will be the same with the same upgrades, and open races, where you'll bring your own cars with your own upgrades to the track. Multiplayer races also have a new penalty system. Although I haven't played enough races to ensure that this system is completely effective, early signs are promising, where collisions don't just guarantee you a penalty regardless of the situation, like in Gran Turismo. The system is constantly monitoring your driving and is calculating whether there is a penalty to give out or not, and the penalties that I've seen so far don't seem to be unnecessarily harsh. And hopefully the new safety rating feature which has been brought in for this game will help keep lobbies with clean racers only competing against other clean racers, and hopefully you won't have your race ruined by someone taking you out in the first corner as they will be in races with other people who aren't able to keep themselves on the track. What I have found a little disappointing though is that local multiplayer seems to have been forgotten about, with no split screen races available, as this feels like it should be an easy addition to the game. And for me, this was where I gained a love for racing games whilst growing up, being able to race against a friend or a family member whilst in the same room as them. The career mode, or Builders Cup as it's called in this game, looks promising, with the usual variety of races from different series available to players as they progress through their career. The main focus though, as the name states, is about building cars by unlocking upgrades to improve the cars that you already own and making them into your ultimate race car. Also, a very welcomed addition to this game mode is the ability to choose your starting place on the grid for every race. So whether you want to have a close fight with the best drivers from the start, or if you prefer to weave your way through the field, you can choose how you wish to take on each race. I really like this addition and the flexibility that it gives to create different races and different race scenarios, and you aren't just stuck having to start from the back of the grid no matter what. We also see some improved graphics in this game, which have been purposely designed for the Xbox Series X or S. On these consoles you can choose between different render modes. The Performance RT has dynamic 4K at 60 frames per second, which includes ray tracing mirroring on the car bonnets as you're driving. The Quality render mode also includes ray tracing on the track as well as the mirroring on the car bonnet. However, using this option will drop your frames per second to only 30. Finally, the Performance mode, as expected, prioritises game performance over graphics by dropping the ray tracing, but is still able to maintain 60 frames per second. The ray tracing on the bonnet of the cars does look incredible, but personally for me, it isn't something that's as important to me when I'm racing. I'd much rather have the performance over the better graphics. If you are someone who really enjoys graphics in the game though, I do think you may slightly be a bit disappointed, as personally for me, I think the game looks a bit dull and lifeless, especially when you compare it to Gran Turismo 7. Whilst it doesn't take away from the actual quality of the graphics itself, I think this will come down just more of a personal preference on how you prefer your games to look. Overall, I've really enjoyed my first experience with Forza Motorsport, and for this I'll give it an 8 out of 10. The improved handling model gives a much better feel to the game compared to previous iterations in the series, but it will definitely benefit from more tracks being added in future updates, so there's definitely some room for improvement. I feel that car enthusiasts and casual racers alike will be able to have plenty of fun with the game as you choose how to approach the career mode, and the updated multiplayer system will hopefully allow for an enjoyable and competitive community to form in this game. If you have enjoyed this video and would like to see reviews of other games, along with other video game news and discussions, then make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel and share with a friend. And hopefully I'll see you out on the track in Forza Motorsport sometime soon.